This is the Annagail Lynes Podcast, where we equip you with the tools and insights to take charge of your life and thrive. And here is your host, life coach and author, Annagail Lynes.
Welcome to the Annagail Lynes Podcast. I'm your host, Annagail Lynes, and today we're diving into a topic that affects us all, complaining. We all do it, but have you ever stopped to wonder why? In this episode, we're going to explore the reasons behind our complaints, the surprising benefits of kicking the habit, and practical ways to help us stop complaining for good. First, we'll break down why we complain and what it does for us. Spoiler alert, it's not all bad. Then we'll look at the incredible benefits that comes from adopting a no complaint mindset, from improved mental health to stronger relationships. Finally, I'll share actionable tips to help us stop complaining and start living a more positive, productive life. So whether you're a chronic complainer looking for a change or just curious how to bring some more positivity into your life, this episode has something for everyone. So stick around, hit that like button if you enjoy the content, and let's get started on this journey to a happier, complaint-free life. So what are 10 reasons that we complain? One is we are venting emotions. If you're in a call center or whether you're in a corporate environment, you spend your breaks and your lunches with your coworkers and you talk about what the customers did, what the boss did, what the management did, what the policy changes, and the schedule. And you're venting your emotions and your frustrations and your anger and your sadness about what is going on in that environment. And you feel like it's helping you to release those emotions. And then we seek validation. People complain to gain sympathy, understanding, or validation from others, reinforcing that their feelings are justified. Back to the scenario with your coworkers and you're eating lunch and you start the sentence with, "Does this bother you?" Because you're wanting to make sure your feelings are valid. It helps us connect with others. Sharing our complaints with our coworkers or our friends gives us a sense of bonding. It gives us a sense of connection, and it helps us to become stronger friends because we're sharing the same struggles. And then problem solving. Some complaints are aimed at finding a solution, seeking advice, or prompting action to resolve an issue. Complaining can also be a way of attracting attention to elicit a response or support from others. And it may be habitual. For some, complaining becomes an habitual response to challenges, a learned behavior that's hard to break. And sometimes we're just expressing our unmet expectations. People complain when their expectations or standards are not met, voicing their dissatisfaction to signal their disappointment. And some people complain to gain control. Complaining can give a sense of control over the situation by vocalizing displeasure and asserting one's perspective. And it also is from cognitive biases because the human tendency is to focus on the negative experiences more than the positive ones. And we're trying to highlight injustice. Complaints can be a way to point out perceived injustices or unfairness, advocating for change or fairness. So what are 10 benefits of not complaining? One is improved mental health. Because when we're focusing on positive aspects and reducing negative talk, it leads to decreased stress, anxiety, and depression. It also enhances our relationships because people tend to enjoy being around us more when we're positive and solution focused instead of always being negative. So it strengthens our personal and professional relationships. And it helps us gain greater resilience because avoiding complaining fosters a mindset of resilience and adaptability, making it easier to handle challenges constructively. It increases our productivity because a positive attitude can lead to greater motivation and productivity because we're less bogged down by negative thoughts and feelings. And it also helps us to be in better physical health because it reduces our stress and it leads us to overall better physical well-being. It lowers our blood pressure and it strengthens our immune system. It also heightens our self-awareness, because becoming conscious of the urge to complain can increase our self-awareness and encourage a more mindful communication and behavior. It also enhances our problem-solving skills because we're focusing on solutions rather than problems, which encourages creative and effective problem-solving skills, thinking outside of the box. We have a more positive influence on others because our positive attitude can inspire the others around us. And then we have greater satisfaction and happiness because when we're focusing on the positive, we're going to have more positive coming into our lives. When we focus on the negative, we have more negative coming into our lives. And it increases our self-esteem because avoiding complaining helps us take control of our attitude and reactions, boosting our confidence and our self-esteem. So what are some ways that we can stop complaining? One, as I always say, we can practice gratitude. We can focus on the positive aspects of our lives and regularly express gratitude for them. So we can take a journal and we can write down 5 things that we're grateful for every day. Whether that is small things or big things, our health, a roof over our head, electricity, running water, our jobs, the opportunity to build our own business, the friends we have, the family we have, the car we have. We need to focus on and turn our attention to focusing on those things that we do have. Maybe it's just that you have a washer and dryer in your apartment. Maybe it's that you get to live on your own without roommates. Maybe it's that you get to go to school on scholarship. Maybe it's that you have a job with an impressive title and big responsibilities. Maybe it's that you've started a startup. Maybe it's your best friend that you've had since kindergarten. Maybe it's that you've got people who've got your back. But we have to focus on what we do have instead of what we don't have. Because if we focus on gratitude, if we focus on what we do have in our lives, we're going to get more positive things happening in our lives. But if we focus on the negative, more negative is going to happen in our lives because we've trained our brains to see the negative more than we've trained our brains to see the positive. So instead of training our brains to see what we can complain about, let's start to train our brains to see the good in every situation. Because even when we are in a car accident or we have a disease or we are dealing with a sick loved one, there is always something that we can find that's positive. The situation may not be positive, but there are things in your life that are positive. And it may be hard to find them because maybe you feel stuck or maybe you feel like you're not getting anywhere in life. But train yourself to find even the smallest thing that you can be grateful for. You go on a walk, maybe you're walking to the bus stop or you're walking out to your car or you're taking a walk to the store because the weather is nice. Make sure that you are thinking in your head, purposely thinking in your head of all the things that you're grateful for. Then we need to become self-aware because too many times all these thoughts go through our heads and they're like trains and they keep going on the tracks and we never stop them. We never think about what we're actually thinking about. We never stop to realize what we're thinking about. Are we thinking about how much work we've got to do at work? How much work we've got to do with our startup? All these things that are on our to-do list. Are we worried about our spouse cheating on us? Are we worried about our kids getting into drugs or getting into bad group of friends? What is it that you are thinking about? Because if you are thinking about negative things, you are going to continue to think about negative things. But we've got to stop that train of negative thinking and we need to start mindfully making sure that we are thinking positive thoughts. So we need to catch ourselves when we are complaining and we need to frame that complaint into something positive. We need to find the positive in that situation. And we need to be mindful of those thoughts, those complaints that come out of our mouth, and those complaints that are in our heads, and those negative thoughts, because the negative thoughts in our heads are going to come out our mouth. And then that's when they start affecting our lives, because whatever is in your mind is going to come out your mouth. And the more you hear yourself complain, the more you hear yourself say negative things, the more that is going to have an effect on you and your well-being. And we need to reframe those thoughts, as I said. We need to see it from a different perspective. You get into a car accident, you total your car. What is the good in that? Well, the good is that you're alive. You may have came in with scratches, but you are alive. And you came out of that situation. The car may not have came out of that situation, but the car can be replaced. You came out of that situation. You walked away from it. So that is the good part of that. What is the good part about the customers complaining and not taking responsibility for things that are their responsibility and expecting you to read their minds? A, you've got a job. B, you get to practice your patience and kindness to this person. You get to have a positive influence on their day. They may be having a bad day, but you could be a positive influence on them. You can change their tone just by being nice. You could solve their problem. But we need to reframe our thoughts, because if we continue to dwell on those negative thoughts, that is what's going to happen in our lives. And we need to think about solutions. When you are starting to complain, you're starting to complain about your boss, you're starting to complain about policy, you're starting to complain about what's happening in the White House, you're starting to complain about the laws that are being made, you're starting to complain about other people. Ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? See, it is easy for us to sit and complain about things. But what are we going to do about it? We have to come up with a solution, because if this is bothering us, we have to figure out what we're going to do to facilitate change. We have to figure out what we're going to do to be a change maker in that situation. Too many times we will focus on the complaints, we can focus on the negative, but we don't want to be a change maker. We don't want to look at what we can do to solve the problem. We have an issue with homelessness. Instead of complaining about how many people are homeless and living on the streets, what are you going to do about it? If you ever say the words, somebody's got to do something about something, that someone is you. Don't complain about how we need to cure cancer unless you're going to do something about it. Like, are you going to come up with a device to detect cancer early so that we can catch it in time? Are you going to become a politician to make change in laws that you don't like? Are you going to do something to facilitate change in the school system that you don't like? What are you going to do to facilitate change? Instead of thinking about complaining, we need to come up with solutions to change what we don't like. We have to change the negative, but we can't do that if we're focused on the complaining. We've got to come up with solutions. We have to think in solutions instead of problems. And then we have to have positive language. We need to use positive or neutral language instead of negative or complaining words. Because what comes out of our mouth, we hear, and the most powerful voice is your own voice. So what you speak, you're hearing, and that is going into your heart and coming into your mind, and now you're thinking all these negative thoughts. It's perpetuating your negative cycle. And we need to set realistic expectations. We need to adjust our expectations to be more realistic and attainable, because we can't have a perfect world. There's got to be compromises. We can't expect the world to be perfect. We can't expect everything to be this dream sequence. Life is never going to have the happily ever after. You're never going to get out of here alive. So we need to set realistic expectations about what we are going to do with our lives. So yes, you can have a family, and yes, you can have a career, but at some point, something is going to be compromised. You're going to miss a recital because you had to go to a meeting. You're going to have to miss work because your kid is sick. There's always going to be compromises, and we have to set realistic expectations. We can't believe that we're going to be super people, superwoman, superman, and take care of everything and be perfect. We are not. We can't expect other people or situations to be perfect either. We have to take responsibility for our own feelings and our own actions rather than blaming external factors. So this comes back to, what are you going to do to solve the problem? We can't be blaming the government. We can't be blaming management. We can't be blaming everybody else. We have to take 100% responsibility for what is happening in our lives. And we have to decide how we want to live and what we want to do. Because usually complaining comes because we're not in the right place. We're not satisfied with something in our lives. We're not satisfied with our home life or our career, or we know that we're supposed to be doing something else with our lives. We're supposed to do more than this. Or we have that dream in our heart that we have never acted on. And we have to figure out what is causing the complaining. We have to figure out what in our lives we are dissatisfied about. And we need to take responsibility and make better choices, because there's always going to be something to complain about, even when you start your own business or have your children or follow your dreams. But we have to decide what we are going to do about those things that we don't like. You're in your own business and you don't like accounting. You don't like, setting up an LLC. You don't like marketing. You delegate, hire somebody who can do those things, who loves to do those things, and you use their skills and talents. Instead of complaining about things, we need to figure out solutions as to how we are going to handle them. We need to limit our exposure to negativity. We need to stop hanging around people who are negative. We need to stop listening to the news. We need to stop listening to those podcasts that are negative. And we need to fill our lives with positivity. Fill our lives with things that are positive, that are good, that store our faith in humanity. So we need to make sure that we are surrounding ourselves with positivity, that we're able to practice empathy and understand things from other people's point of views. And we need to seek constructive feedback. We need to have a group of people that we're accountable to, that are also trained to not complain, so that they can stop you when you're complaining, or you can stop them when they're complaining, and you're in it together. Then we need to have a sense of humor. We need to laugh at ourselves in the situations around us and not take ourselves so seriously, because too many times we will analyze every mistake we've made, everything we said, and the other people are not worried about what you said. They're not even thinking about it because they're thinking about their own lives. And we have to have a sense of humor. We have to laugh at ourselves, and we have to get over ourselves. We have to make sure that those mistakes we make, we learn from them, and we move on. We have to practice patience, especially with ourselves, because we are going to complain. We are going to mess up. We need to just make a decision to move past that. Get up and try again. If at first you don't succeed, try again. And we need to focus on what we can control, because there are things in life that we can't control. But there are things in life that we can control, and we need to focus on what we can control and not what we can't control. We can't control what the President of the United States does. We can't control what happens in Iraq. We can't control what happens in other countries, and we can't control what other people are going to do. Even as a manager, you cannot control what the people under you are going to do. They're going to come in late. They're going to complain. They're going to say bad things to the customers. It's going to happen, and you can't control them. But you can control how you react to things. You can control certain things in life, like you can control whether you volunteer to help the homeless. You can control whether you are building a business to try and find a cure to cancer or devices that detect cancer early. You can control whether or not you're going to run for office. You can control what causes you're going to work for, but we need to focus on what we can control instead of what we can't control. We can't control our children's behavior. We can't control our husband's behavior or our spouse's behavior. We can't control our friends' behavior. We can only control ourselves and what we're going to do to make a difference in this world. So we have to learn when we complain to ask ourselves what we're going to do about it and if we want to do anything about it. And if we are going to do something about it, we need to stop complaining and do something. We need to take action. We need to make a difference in this world because that's why we're here, to make a difference. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on why we complain, benefits of not complaining, and practical ways to break the habit. I hope you found the insights and tips helpful and inspiring. Remember, reducing complaints isn't about ignoring problems. It's about shifting our focus to solutions and positivity. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Annagail Lynes Podcast for more content on personal growth and well-being. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below on how you handle the urge to complain and what strategies work best for you. Let's support each other on this journey to a more powerful and fulfilling life. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and keep making strides towards a happier you.